Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, pay-per-view time, people. Pay-per-view time. And that can only mean it's the Getting Over crew. -1. Part of the great... 3/4 of the Getting Over crew. Some of the Getting Over crew, they're here to discuss wrestling. WWE wrestling. Yes, indeedy. Mr. Matthew Moore was unable to attend. Did send in his picks, which is what the correct thing to do is. So me, Mr. Woodmansey, Mr. Williams, Mr. Misters, we all got together, discussed what we think is going to be coming up in this upcoming pay-per-view. So find out by listening or watching. And if you are watching, you're watching on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, you are a YouTube subscriber, aren't you? Obviously, if you're not, click the button and we'll say no more about it. Here we go. This is CookieCast Getting Over.
Hello, welcome along. It's that time again. It's time for Getting Over on CookieCast. You might have noticed if you're with us on YouTube that we are one individual short tonight. So we've just got myself, Paul Williams, and Andy Cook. Mr. Moore has been prepared, has sent us some predictions, but obviously, as usual, we'll get to that. We'll start where we always start then. Predictions title. After last time, Paul winning it on a technicality, if you cast your mind back to answering the question of how many times has the WWE title been defended in the SummerSlam main event, guesses of 26 and 27, and it was actually 17. So Paul took that on the tiebreak, but could he defend it?
Off the bar.
I know, I'm way off. I was glossing over nicely, Paul, and you just brought it up again. But your wound, not mine. So we thought straight into it. Why not? Paul, could he defend? Well, the answer was sort of. So I have to say, in the history of us doing these predictions, this was possibly the worst we have ever done collectively. So, we had a possible 10 points because we did have. We decided that the card was so short at the time of recording that we decided if some rumoured matches would happen. Well, that backfired horrendously because that would have formed 6 points out of the entirety. But so I have a possible 10 points. Bringing up the rear was Mr. Cook with 2, me with 3, and then tied for 4 was Matt and Paul. So as with last time, I thought, right, let's get on with it. Let's get this tiebreak research done, and then because Mr. Moore isn't here, technically I think Paul wins by count out. So. Come at me, Matt. Whatever. If you're still listening to this, go, Matt. So Paul has retained, but once again on a technicality. So as we said, get involved. We need people to come on. We need people to give us their predictions. If this proves nothing else, there has never been a better time to come and try and beat us at the predictions. Get yourself on. Quite happy to have you on to do some predictions. And if you can beat us, then we've got prizes. So prizes could be
word in the English in the English language. Winner by default.
We will accept all forms of predictions. Send it in a tweet to the what is it, CookieCast Pod or at CookieCast Pod. Email us at the old Gmail address. All of it can be got from cookiecast.com. We'll accept all forms of predictions. Just drop it in a message form of some kind. We will even open the doors of CookieCast Towers and allow you into the Zoom room to throw down the prediction gauntlet. So get involved. You know, we're going to be definitely spending a lot of time indoors soon. So what better way to spend your time?
Well, speaking of more predictions, we've got a lot to get to. So I'm not going to go into what actually happened at Payback in terms of the matches and stuff like that. If you've not seen it, go back and watch it. Even listen to the last podcast first if you want, just to throw it out there, just to see how bad we did. But we've got Clash of Champions coming up this weekend, and as they like to say, every title will be defended. Every title is going to be defended. So they've announced not a match for every title at time of recording, typically. So thanks very much for that, WWE. At time of recording, there's been 9 confirmed matches. So, you know, probably push that up to how many titles, active titles they got now? About 87. So obviously not including it, and that's not including NXT either.
That was going to be my point, because obviously it's the NXT Cruiserweight title. Yeah, we'll probably still manage to sneak its way onto the card in some form.
Well, they're going to go again from the Thunderdome. They're still hiding out at the Amway Centre, hiding from the COVID, and I still can't get a ticket. Been trying every week. Every time I go to register, but that was my grumble from a previous time, so I shall not speak of it anymore. I will start with where all the good pre-shows will probably start, and that is with a good old tag team title match, because this card, you might notice, is going to be filled with lots of matches that have absolutely zero build. They've become a victim, if you like, of their own stipulation in terms of every title has to be defended, and then the week before they're like, "What we're going to do?" So you'll see as this goes on. This match card is most definitely quantity rather than quality. First on my list is the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro defending against the Lucha House Party. Remember them? Anybody remember them at all?
I don't want to say it in such a blatant term, but do they trot them out when the Hispanic viewings seem to dip?
Oh, Paul, how can you say such a thing?
Card.
Just saying.
Man. Well, I think the last time anybody remembers anything relevant that they did was when Kalisto was United States champion for a hiccup. But
I don't know. When they were in the Elimination Chamber.
I genuinely thought you were going to go when they were. No, it's gone.
No, there was the Elimination Chamber match where they were in that, and one of them climbed up the inside of the top of it and dropped off.
Obviously stuck in the memory.
That was quite good. Well, yeah, other than that, they've done shit off. So
well, the thing they have done has been a bit of a pain in the background to the SmackDown Tag Team Champions over the last few weeks. But Kalisto has just come back from injury, so where it was Gran Metalik and Lindsay Dorado causing a bit of aggro for the Tag Team Champions, Kalisto has now come back, and they seem to be infighting amongst them as well. So I'm not really sure what the angle is on where the match goes, but as we have got so many matches, we might as well do the predictions as we go through, if that's okay with you guys. So we'll kick things off. I've obviously got Mr. Moores for all of them. He has given me Nakamura and Cesaro to retain. I would be inclined to agree with him.
Yes, please.
Andy?
I mean, it's a question of points, isn't it? Do I start out early and just get those early door points, or do I go? Yeah, I'm with you boys on this one. I'm afraid.
You going with us? Yeah. Okay.
For now.
So that's.
For now, I think there's probably some easier points further down the line.
Well, actually, one thing I should give you kudos for is the fact that you were the only person who predicted Roman Reigns to win the Universal title. So 50% of your points came from that one match. You
can't do me like that! You can't do me like that!
He gives us with one hand and takes it away.
Less than 9 minutes in, he's already sticking it in. He's just freaking...
I only got one more point than that. I mean, it's not exactly setting the podcast alight, is it?
Now he's lording over me how many points he got. Jeez, I think
that's known in the business as getting rinsed.
Yeah.
I was waiting for Paul to chip in with his big all four then, but never mind. So, weirdly, we have had a headline match announced early doors, but it is the headline match for the pre-show. so headlining the pre-show will not be the aforementioned Cruiserweight Championship, nor will it be the United States title match. It is going to be the fall from grace for the Raw Women's Championship. It's going to be defending champion Asuka versus Zelina Vega. That was a bit out of left field as well, because she's been pretty much a manager in her entire time in WWE so far. But after the recent sort of split, not split of the team of Andrade and Angel Garza, who she was managing, she then decided to do her own thing. Got a number one contenders match in her first match of memory, really, and won against Mickie James, which, as you guys know, I was not pleased about. So Mickie James needs to tie Trish with a record for women's titles. It's got to happen. But yes, it's going to be Asuka defending against Zelina Vega. Who have we got?
So they do seem quite high on Zelina Vega. Quite right too. She's a very compelling character. She's very good on the mic. I've only seen her wrestle occasionally, which I'm pretty sure is the same for most people. She hasn't been a huge in-ring competitor since she's been with the company. I think it would be foolish for him to take the belt off Asuka again so quickly after having her win it back. At Payback? Or was it at SummerSlam? SummerSlam. No, it must have been SummerSlam because the women's tag titles were defended at Payback.
I don't even know if it was. Now this is making me look bad. I don't even know if it was. It might have been on Raw,
No, it was, wasn't it? Because Asuka had two matches at SummerSlam.
Yes, you are correct.
Yeah. So I think it'd be foolish for him to do it again. So that'd be 4 title switches in the space of 3 months or something. So yeah, a little bit too silly for me. So Asuka to retain.
Okay, you are in the book. Say Mr. Moore has gone Asuka. I am also going Asuka. So this is another chance for you, Mr. Cook.
And it's chance that I am willing to take.
Ooh, okay. So you're going Zelina Vega.
Yeah. A lot of goings on there. It seems a bit like to come out and announce a match, win a contender match, to then just lose the actual match. Feels a bit just weird. Obviously, this is the WWE, and weird, probably. Is that what one of the W stands for? Really weird entertainment.
After fighting Shane McMahon for nearly 2 years straight, Kevin Owens had him as a guest on the KO show on this past Monday's Raw, and the line from the beginning was, well, it might as well be weird, let's just continue the theme of 2020. So maybe it is, maybe they're going to adopt that into the branding. So the first chance of points, or possibly 1 point less then on the board.
I'm here for points, boys.
So we have got another tag title match, obviously, with all the titles being defended, and that is going to be the Raw Tag Team Championships, being defended by the Street Profits against the Zelina Vega's former team of Andrade and Angel Garza. So they have had this whole on-again, off-again relationship, but they also won a number one contenders match this week on Raw, so all the things were being thrown together. And they seem to kind of got past their issue, sort of. It was uncomfortable, shall we say. On the other hand, it wasn't mentioned, but the Street Profits are now the longest reigning Raw Tag Team Champions of all time. So we know that if we say that 6 more times before the weekend, they're going to lose. But the win, by the way, in the number one contenders match came at the expense of Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy, or Murphy as he is now, and Humberto Carrillo and Dominic Mysterio in a triple threat match. So they'd stacked the number one contenders match in terms of the tag teams and what they've got available at the moment. But I feel like this is a match that we've seen probably more times than Boris Johnson on TV in the last 6 months. So, do we need it? Probably not. The text that I got from Matt with his predictions in, and I'll drop this now. He has predicted a title change, but also then in brackets put, why is this even happening? So that kind of that I think Matt would be in full agreement with what we've just been saying. So
yeah,
Matt has gone for the title change. I am going for a retain. I don't think it will change. Andy?
I'm going title change with added drama.
With added drama, what will be the added drama?
There'll be a set 2 between the pair of them.
Even after they've won?
Yeah.
Different.
They do like that. They do like that. The tag champs that can't stand each other.
Yeah, that is
they have done that on several occasions.
Yeah, that is the angle that I think they're going to go with on this one.
I just remember that for when we get to the women's tag team title match.
Oh God. I agree with Stu in that I think they'll retain because I think you've been saying it for the last couple of weeks now that the Hurt Business stable will eventually have all the members will have belts, and I reckon that at some point you'll see the tag belts go on to Shelton and Cedric.
Okay. So let's go for a retain. So it's 50-50 split down the board. Well, it's almost, Paul, as if you can see the match card in front of you now, because the next match on the list involves a member of the Hurt Business. So the US title is up for grabs, again in another match we've seen 1,000 times so far this year. But defending champion Bobby Lashley defends the gold against Apollo Crews. The most shocking thing about this match is that apparently Apollo Crews hasn't had a rematch for the US title since he lost it. I mean, maybe not one-on-one, but they've wrestled each other so much in the last 2 or 3 months. It feels a little bit done. I'm not keen on this. The other thing as well we should mention is that, as you brought up the Hurt Business, they have recruited Apollo Crews' former friend, Cedric Alexander, and they've also got involved in defending Raw against this Retribution faction. So they have had their hands full over the last month or so with it. And I think MVP as well, by the way, is probably pulling out some of the performances of his career, especially on the microphone, by being given the leadership role within that team. He certainly brings the experience, and quite honestly, I'd happily watch MVP over half that roster at the moment, because to me he is that good. But we did mention Retribution, so maybe as they haven't got a match, they probably will interfere in a few at least. But maybe we should talk about what happened this week on Raw. So it's been going on for a while now, hasn't it? Who are they? They come in, they chainsaw things, they graffiti things, they draw on things. There's about 500 of them at any one time, and then 5 of them show up to be revealed as the main faction. For those of you that haven't seen, there's 3 guys, 2 girls. So it's Mia Yim, Mercedes Martinez, Dominic Dijakovic, Shane Thorne, and Dio Madden. He was the guy you might remember who hasn't really been in NXT, but was a commentator on Raw for a short period of time. So a bit of a bizarre setup. They said on Raw this week they've been given contracts. Anybody want to give me a timer? Oh man. Here he goes. Get that clock racked up. To be honest, I could have done a full half an hour on this, so you might have to rein me in after this, boys. Right, we good?
3, 2, 1, begin.
Okay, so a group come in to tear up your company. What's the first thing you would do? Take out restraining orders or some sort of, police presence? No, give them all a job. Why would you do that? You've essentially just then taken it away. I know it's storyline, I get that. But it makes 0 sense even to a casual viewer. So the people that have been watching it for years and years and years are obviously bored. Also the names. They revealed the names of the 3 guys. T-Bar, Mace, and Slapjack. Let that sit.
It's a good point, and it's the point that I think Kevin Nash raised it when the NWO first came into force back in WCW, like way back in the day. So apparently they were at the arena for Nitro. Well, it must have been Nitro, or just a house show, and they were talking through the merchandise and stuff like that. And this woman was like, "Okay, so we've got the standard NWO shirt for sale, and then a few other bits and pieces, and then gave them the prices of that." And then Kevin Nash was like, whoa, hang on. We don't work for you. We're like this renegade bunch that we've come in to like sort of take over the company. Why would you be selling our merchandise? Because we're literally the outsiders. We don't work for the company. If you're going to sell the merchandise, we have to sell it like bootleg on our own and stuff like that. And people, the woman like couldn't understand it, and it was like, I think in the end he was just like, "Oh, just give me the shirts, we'll go out and sell them, and we'll make sure the money all gets back to you," and stuff like that. But the people that were like high up in the company couldn't get their head around it.
That sounds like such a Kevin Nash thing. Of course you did, Kev. All of that came back, didn't it?
But he was absolutely bang on with his logic.
Yeah, you can't fault that.
In the storyline, why would WCW try and be selling something against a faction they don't want to be there? And in a similar way, if Retribution have come in and caused all this damage, yeah, you won't be putting contracts in their hands. You'd be putting like lawsuits in their hands, surely, for criminal destruction and stuff like that.
Well, I know that I've had my 30 seconds, but again, just those names, they've had months and months and months to come up with these characters, and everybody can clearly see who they are. So if they've ever watched NXT even for half an hour, they will know who at least one of these people are. And they've, rather than just going with the names that they already had, that people, were established, they've changed them to, like, words that aren't even real words. And, like, Slapjack. What?
Oh, Slapjack is an amazing name. And I didn't nearly cough out my spine when you said that. That's a well thought out name, Stuart. I don't believe that this is the right way to take this. I condone this name of the amazing Slapjack.
It's just terrible. As far as I know, I think that is Shane Thorne. I think that T-Bar is Dijakovic and Mace is therefore Dio Madden. But again, maybe they'll rotate the names around like they've rotated the squad numbers around for the last 2 or 3 months whilst they've been doing this angle. But anyway, we have digressed because of my grumblings, even though they will probably interfere in any kind of Hurt Business matchup. Bobby Lashley, Apollo Crews, does anybody think that the title will change?
I was going to say no, but you put that thought in my head now with your talk of Retribution getting their own name.
Well, who's to say that Apollo Crews might not be called, like, I don't know, Suitcase or something stupid by the end of the night, and he'll be the sixth member.
Ironing board.
Yeah. It's just like, well, I think we've got there's definitely going to be a meme by the end of the week where it's like, pick the first letter of your name and the date of your birthday, and it'll give you your Retribution name. I'd be surprised if that's probably not even out there by the time that we finish this recording. So are you going for a title change, Paul, or not?
No. I'll stick with my initial thought of Bobby to retain.
Okay, Andy.
Is this point in time to play for some more points? Obviously, we only have Paul's prediction at this point in time, and I might go. Put me down for Apollo Crews.
Ooh. I'm going to say that Matt has chosen Bobby Lashley to retain. I'm putting this down as a no contest. So that's even like playing for points to the nth degree, I suppose, if you like. I just think the Retribution will get involved and the match will get thrown out. It's the only match really that the Hurt Business are kind of involved in at front of house. So if they're gonna arrive, they're gonna arrive. What's this for the YouTubes? Oh yeah. So there he is. There's good old T-Bar and his Pound Shop Bane mask.
Nobody cared who I was until I put on the mask.
I think they actually used that as a quote on one of their Instagram. The WWE have used that as a quote on one of their Instagram posts with a picture of today.
I will say this now. Do not fuck around with Warner Brothers. Do not fuck around with Warner Brothers. They will have your pants down immediately. Do not mess around. They will have had to get that signed off beforehand if they've used it.
Well, who knows? We might not be doing a wrestling podcast next month if they haven't. It'll just be like a eulogy for handing over the cash. So, Paul mentioned before, tag team champions that don't like each other. I said to save it for the women's match. The women's tag team titles contested by the champions Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, who still don't get along, versus a newly reformed Riot Squad consisting of people who didn't get along for a period of time. It's almost like there's a theme to the entire tag team division across the men and the women at the moment. So the current champions took the titles from Sasha Banks and Bayley, which obviously we shall get to that as well. They have sort of carried the rivalry on against each other. It's always been like a anything you can do, I can do better kind of a deal. They had a match on Raw this past week against Natalya and Lana, where Nia Jax seemed to struggle against Lana, which is just odd in itself. But then Shayna Baszler went in and absolutely just tore her to shreds and sort of made an example. So that kind of is still going on. So the Riot Squad have probably only had 2 or 3 matches back together as a unit. They have wrestled some singles matches as well, but not really had any kind of sort of match time together. But again, they managed to win a number 1 contenders match this time, not on this week's Raw, on the week before's Raw. and end up in a match for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Mr. Moore has gone with another title retention, so he's gone with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Andy?
Yeah, I'm with Matt on that one.
Okay. And Paul?
Yep, same for me.
Yep, that is an entire clean sweep then. So I didn't think that one would take us too long, to be fair, when I was looking at the match listing before. But yeah, we did mention briefly Paul's favourite female superstar of all time there in one Bayley. So the SmackDown Women's title match is Bayley defending as champion against Nikki Cross. This story has probably been the most interesting story that has been across both shows for the last couple of months. It has dragged a little bit long, maybe, but how long have we waited? How many times have we said on the podcast, it's got to be this month, where it's got to be this show when Bayley turns on Sasha, or Sasha turns on Bayley? Well, we finally got the answer. So Bayley basically attacked Sasha Banks in the end, twice with a steel chair, wrapping it around her neck, giving it a good old kick in. Sasha Banks came back the week after thinking she'd get her own back, and then Bayley just did it again. So Bayley has gone full on, like, opposite to the hugger and all the rest of it. The furthest point now she could ever be away, and oddly left Sasha Banks as the good guy in all of this, which I think they've tried her before as Paul, go on, Paul.
No, I'm just saying I called that. So.
There we go. Yeah, you don't get a point for that though. I was waiting for him to pull out the title then, but I'll leave that. On the other side of this match though, we've got Nikki Cross again, throwing it in there because she's won a number one contenders match. This time there was a fatal four-way match, so at least they're doing something a little bit different on the weekly programming. But it was against Lacey Evans, Tamina, and her former best friend Alexa Bliss, who has been interjected into the Fiend storyline recently, looking more and more like she's going to become the physical embodiment of Sister Abigail. Even using the move a couple of times at ringside. Also as well, when the Fiend has been mentioned, she kind of snaps out of like the bubbly Alexa Bliss and goes like straight faced, doesn't really speak much, just then delivers the Sister Abigail. So that's kind of got its own spin off as well. So because we've got Sasha Banks on like the Bayley side of the equation, and then we've also got an Alexa Bliss on the Nikki Cross side of the situation, what are the chances that we even get a clean finish in this match?
Small, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I will leave it to you to pick a winner, if indeed you want to pick a winner. I think this is.
They quite like Scottish champions, don't they?
Right, okay. Are you teeing yourself up here, Paul, for a catchphrase moment?
Surely to escalate the Sasha Bayley storyline, Sasha has to come back and either attack Bayley or, worse, cost her the championship. You'd imagine would probably be the thing that would maybe matter Bayley more. So I reckon she'll come back and cost her the match, and Nikki Cross will be the new champ.
I do not agree with you, and neither does Matt. I think that Sasha Banks will make an appearance, but I think
fools.
Well, we'll see when we get the points, Paul. We'll see. Andy, you've heard us bicker about it. Where that's
all right, Paul. I've got your back. I'm with you, buddy. I think there's going to be heavy interference in this match. Heavy. interference. I was nearly going to go with no winner. And I kind of feel like I might be losing a point by not going with it. But me and Paul park our cars in the same garage on this one.
I agree. I would have quite happily picked no contest for this, but I think that they can only get away with doing that once on the entire show. And I've kind of blown that one on the US title match already, so that was the only thing keeping me away from the no contest. So we've got 3 matches left. The next match for me is the entire reason I will be watching the pay-per-view still. Quite honestly, it's the Intercontinental Championship match, and it's between current champion Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles, and the returning Sami Zayn. Now, Sami Zayn has returned finally after, COVID can't get him in the Amway Centre, so he thought he'd come back to work. So he's proclaimed himself as the true Intercontinental Championship, as the Intercontinental Champion. He's done what all of the fans like to do, like myself, and bought himself a replica belt and turned up at the show. Bringing it out on the stage, parading it around in front of Jeff Hardy. So we've got this whole kind of classic Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon double Intercontinental Champion thing going on at the moment. And just to tie the similarities even more, it's they've made the match a ladder match. But obviously this time we've got the triple threat with AJ thrown in there as well. To me, Sami Zayn has been an absolute breath of fresh air in the short time that he's been back. I enjoyed the stuff that he did when, before we was away for a while. To me, he hasn't missed a beat. He's picked up exactly where he left off, and they've even distanced him from Nakamura and Cesaro, so I think it gives him more of a chance to shine in his own right. This match, I think, is his big chance to make a good impression. I think how he performs this weekend will have a big bearing on how important he is in the storylines going forward. Matt seemingly had a similar idea in the sense of Sami Zayn was Matt's pick. I'm not sure I'm that confident that Zayn will win. So for me, this is where I go for a Jeff Hardy retain. That's where I go with that. I've got a nod of agreement, I think, there from Mr. Cook.
Ladders, Jeff Hardy.
Yep. Here we go.
The whole. I think there was a conversation previously saying that it's very likely that this is Jeff Hardy's last ride. He's had a varied career, let's say, but it's definitely feeling like a last dance, last ride sort of situation for him.
He has, just to cement what you've said as well, he has just signed like a contract extension, which seemingly is his final contract extension. So you bang on with that.
I think a little bit more time in the spotlight with a title to then start sort of fading him out, to have one big last match and then send him off into the sunset. So I think a retain for this one, and we'll have to see where it goes from there.
Paul, that leaves you with the deciding vote on this one.
So the the good element of a ladder match is that you can be the champ, lose the belt, but not be pinned. So in a kind of weird way, it doesn't go against you as a loss. It's more the fact that the other guy actually was able to sort of get the win. I suppose you'd class it as that, really. Like, that guy didn't lose the title. The other guy just retained it, was able to win it, I suppose, is the way you'd class it as.
Mm-hmm.
With everything that happened happened with Roman Reigns, for me, it's almost as if they've kind of just kept whatever the storyline on hold that they had for the Universal Championship, and then as soon as he came back in, they were just like, right, well, we're about 6 months behind now, but we'll just go straight back in with what we were going to do at WrestleMania time, and just build from there. So part of me wonders if they've got similar plans in place for Zayn, but on the Intercontinental side of things.
I mean, like you say, if Jeff Hardy was to retain, Zayn could essentially, and I hadn't thought about it like that until you've just said, but Zayn could essentially pull the "I've still not lost it" card.
Yeah.
So that could continue there too on their own then.
Before you'd said that it was a ladder match as well, I was gonna say, is there a way we could get like a no contest here that leads to putting both belts up for a ladder match between the two of them? But obviously that's now scuppered. So I'll go for a retain. But I want my retain to say Sami Zayn retains.
Ooh.
Lost the title.
Oh, man, I typed it in and everything, you just made me delete it all. Okay, so again 50-50 split then. So me and you, Andy, on the Hardy train, and Paul and Matt sticking together. So if I tell you what the next match is that I've got on my list, you will already know Matt's prediction. So the next match is for the WWE title. Drew McIntyre defending the title against one Mr. Randall Keith Orton. However, it's not just a straight up wrestling match this time around. It is an ambulance match, which we've not seen one of them for a while, so not too bad. We've arrived at this point because over the last month or so, there was a night where Orton punted McIntyre in the head 3 times and gave him a hairline fracture to his jaw. The following week, Drew rocks up with his hairline fracture and Claymore kicks Orton 3 times to return the favour. So the story is that both of them on those respective nights left in an ambulance without the WWE title. One of them will do it again this weekend. So I like the way they built that. It's quite nice symmetry. It seems quite simple booking as well from that respect. But I think somebody in the writing team will still be getting fired because they can't say it's the first time that they've ever left in an ambulance. But we know they love that one. So we already know Matt's prediction. Regular listeners to the podcast will already have noted down on a scorecard the name of Mr. Orton for Matt. This is difficult, I think. I'm really torn on this one, so I kind of want to let you guys go first just to see if my thought process.
Playing for points.
So, if either of you two would like to go first.
Now, Stu, you know that I am a man that in a certain situation... No, in 2 particular situations, we'll use 2 particular names. One, if one of the opponents is Brock Lesnar, you don't even need to ask who I'm picking. 2, if one of the opponents is Randall Keith, you don't need to ask who I'm picking. But this time is going to be different.
Ooh, okay.
Because normally, I'd be like, Stu, I'm offended that you've asked me the question. Get out and never come back. But this time, something way down in my bones tells me that it's not the right answer. It's not the time to pick that choice. So for the record, Drew McIntyre.
Okay.
I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be tidy. But yeah, it's Drew for me.
There's a couple of reasons I'm torn on it, and one is because it's still this whole stigma around he's like the first British WWE champion, and I really don't want him to have a crap title reign. I think he's done quite well so far, and I still don't know if it's just a little bit early for him to lose it. Also, though, I think that Orton now, if Orton doesn't win this time around, I don't think he's ever going to take it off McIntyre. But then I flip back the other way because I just have this vision of the end of the match in my head of the ambulance door being open and Orton getting Claymore kicked into the ambulance. That seems like quite a logical way of ending the match, because if he RKO's it, we can't exactly. I suppose he could do it inside the ambulance and then get out, but I don't know if that looks as good. So I can't decide. This is like proper like flipping a coin for me. Do you want to help me out, Paul, or do you just want me to flip the coin?
I'm on the same sort of wavelength as you, really. It's like there's what I want to happen, and then there's the sort of, are they really going to have Orton lose another match to him? Because like they've spent like quite a lot of time, obviously building him up with obviously all the stuff that happened with Edge, and they made him into this sort of like killer heel.
Well, he's one of the only people in recent memory to revert to a former version of themselves without ever crossing paths with Bray Wyatt. So, because they went full on legend killer, didn't they? With everything, like you say, with Edge and Christian and Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels and the rest. So,
it's tough because you can make good arguments for both sides. Like you say, Drew's not really had. Well, I say he's not really had a chance to sort of have like a groundbreaking run with it and stuff like that. But then again, when you've not got a live crowd there, like how do you judge it properly and stuff like that? Are they at the point where they're late enough in the year where they can start the build towards the Rumble again, and if they're able to get a smattering of fans back in, that they just decide to sort of reset and just go balls to it? We'll just have Drew win the Rumble again and have him take on Reigns and move him to SmackDown. I don't know. Just because I don't think they'll beat Orton again, I'm gonna class this as using my Joker or playing my Joker, and I'll go for this to be the no contest of the evening.
Wow. Okay. I'm not sure how they'll pull. Well, they're both going to end up in the ambulance.
Yeah. So it could be like, I'll give you a finish. So I think they've done this similarly before. Orton, for some reason, they find themselves on top of the ambulance. Orton goes for the RKO on top of the ambulance, and they go through into the ambulance.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
They've done that before with like someone going through the roof of something. Mm-hmm. So I'll go with that.
That'd be alright. I'm going heart over head in the end. I've put McIntyre down, so fingers crossed Drew gets it done, keeps hold of the title. So yeah, we'll see how we go with that. But yeah, Paul, not only are you playing your Joker, I suppose, could end up being the only point scorer there, so we shall see. Which leads us on to what will probably be it could well be the main event out of the two bigger titles in the men's division, because it's going to be Roman Reigns defending that newly minted Universal title against Jey Uso, his cousin. Bit of like you say, was this in the plan back at to come out of WrestleMania? Not sure. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you when Jimmy Uso got injured, so I'm assuming that's probably got something to do with it as well. But yeah.
Was Jey the Uso that was in the WrestleMania ladder match?
off the top of my head right now, could not tell you. I think it's been discussed on the podcast before about how I feel terrible about not being able to, as the father of twins, not being able to tell those two apart. And you're really not helping with that right now, Paul. So off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you which one it was. But yeah, or was it that injury was what forced their hand, possibly, to make it that triple threat ladder match that it was in the end for the tag title?
That makes sense, I suppose. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been a bit of a strange setup. Obviously, we've got the advisor to the tribal chief, as he is now known. He's not an advocate anymore. He's an advisor to a tribal chief. It's a bit shaky ground that they're treading in it, to be fair. But yeah, so Roman Reigns will have Paul Heyman in his corner still. Matt has obviously gone straight in with the Roman Reigns pick. He's only just won the title last time out. Jey Uso, primarily a tag team competitor, never had really a singles career in his life apart from one huge number one contenders match which he obviously won. Anybody not picking Reigns?
Okay, I mean, is it like the most one-sided banker ever? Really?
What you mean, other than picking Undertaker at WrestleMania?
Yeah. Other than that, or the fact that for about 5 or 6 years, if you won the championship at WrestleMania, you could nail your hat on that your first opponent and that you'd defend it against after WrestleMania finish would be Kane.
That is a fair point. Well, I don't know. Obviously, this has got then the potential to be the biggest shock value out of the entire card. If Jey Uso walked away from Clash of Champions as Universal Champion, it would get people talking. I'm also pretty sure it might get a few people switching off. So,
is Jimmy definitely injured?
Yeah, I think it wasn't. It was either an ACL or an MCL, so it's not a. Right. If you only did it in March, I wouldn't.
There's no way they can pull the old switcheroo, screwy finish sort of thing.
The only other thing that I wondered was if he was anywhere near being able to make an appearance, could it be him that then cost his brother? But
yeah, maybe.
They've split up too many tag teams recently, so I don't know even if they'd do that, even if they had the chance to be able to. Not sure. So yeah, so I think we got a nod of agreement there from Andy as well about Roman Reigns returning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that is all of the predictions. So as we alluded to earlier, if you've stuck with us, if you've got thoughts, if you've got plans, if you've got ideas of your own of what's going to happen at Clash of Champions, get in touch. As Andy said before, emails are open, Twitters are open, comments on the YouTubes are open. Make sure you hit the subscribe button while you're there. But yeah, has anybody got anything else they want to drop in from the world of wrestling from the last few weeks? All good? Right, well,
it was Jim Cornette's birthday last week, so happy birthday, Cornet.
Yeah, but you're the only person in the world that would say that, Paul, apart from his wife. Which, at least in Corney's world, gets you a free ticket to his hot tub party. So, enjoy that one. So yeah, I think we're all good. But yeah, thanks very much for joining us, and thanks to you guys, and enjoy Sunday.
Oh, thank you. Right, thank you very much. Bye.
Cheers, guys.
There we go then. What do you think to that? Predictions are in. What's your prediction for this one? Go on, tell me. Tell you what, send me an email and let me know what you think is going to happen in the pay-per-view, and we'll add it to the prediction picks. And if you win, you will get a prize. Absolutely, categorically, prizes on the board for you if you win. YouTube watchers, do subscribe. It helps the channel out massively, and it helps you to be a better person, which we know you are. Everybody jump over to thecookiecast.com. Choose one of the ways to send us your pics while you're there. Check out what's going on, and just generally be part of it. So that's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then. Bye.